Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Sara Ogilvie's work. I am a big fan of hers. This is the only book that I've got that she's done. I've got a few that I want to add to the list. I first heard of her on my illustration course. I'd never really heard of her before, and she did one of the best lessons. I think about character design. She works mostly traditionally. But sometimes she will edit and like do textures and stuff in Photoshop, but a lot of the work is like hand-drawn traditional artwork with pencils and pencil cranes and stuff, which I really like. So this is Big Bad Wolf Investigates Fairy Tales, and it's written by Catherine Cawthorne. So this is an interesting one. I don't know, I picked it up because it was Sara Ogilvie, and I loved the design of the wolf, and I just love her artwork in general. It's an interesting book because it's kind of dissecting the truth or the practicality of fairy tales, which I think would appeal to a certain type of child. It's not that fun of an idea to me personally for like a children's book, but it's different and it's unique, and I can understand why it got published. But I just love Sara's work. This first spread is beautiful. This book throughout kind of dabbles with like a comic book layout as well as like the traditional children's book, but I would say it's more like comic book. The way it's there's a lot of panels, and it's breaking up the text, and then the text is in sometimes like speech bubbles and stuff. But I love this wolf. I love how free it is. It's kind of like, I would liken it to the looseness of like someone like Quentin Blake, but the form of the characters and the faces are a lot more, I don't know, real than Quentin would do it. Quentin's very like all over the place with his characters and his faces and stuff. I don't know, this feels a bit more grounded. Some really nice colouring going on here. We've got like a yellow background with all these like test tubes and stuff, and things from fairy tales. We've got like Cinderella's glass slipper, a gingerbread man, there's like witches' potions and stuff. It's very interesting. So it starts off with the tale of the three little pigs. And so the format of this book is like, it'll start with a fairy tale, and then it'll talk about the facts of that said tale, like actually how probable, like how realistic is it that you could build a house out of sticks or out of bricks, or how much breath does a wolf have inside them to be able to blow down a house, etc. So it's kind of like taking the fun out of the fairy tale by over-analysing it, but again, I can understand why a publisher would want to publish this type of a book. I would say Sara is a person that draws characters that are quite relatable. Sara's characters are really they're really cute. They're very cute, and I feel like they would translate well to like dolls or toys. They feel like you could pick them up and hold them in your hand. She's not one for drawing like particularly beautiful characters, and I would say she's quite British in that sense. There's a lot of British children's books that draw characters to be very plain and very like relatable, which is like the opposite of my aesthetic, and normally I don't really like that, but I really do like her characters. There's a lot going on with these spreads that I would say isn't very typical of a children's book. There's a lot of text, there's a lot of like boxes, there's a lot of shapes, and there's a lot of characters going on the page. There's a lot happening, and there's not much like white space. So here we have Cinderella. This Cinderella is interesting. I do the Ugly Stepsisters are fun. They kind of look like drag queens. The fairy godmother is an interesting design. It's kind of like a hippie folk singer or something. It's very, but again, it's like very plain. It doesn't look like magical or beautiful, and the same for Cinderella herself. Even like in her dress, it's very like ordinary. But there's just something really beautiful about all these characters together. Again, I feel like I could reach out and pick them up, like they're made out of like plasticine or like a soft plush. I could imagine all of these as like a soft plush toy. She does a lot of really nice textures in her artwork, which just like anytime you see texture in artwork, it's just nice. It gives it a nice touch. And with so much today being digital, I feel like it's quite refreshing to see texture. So again, we've got like not the criticizing, but the analysing of the fairy tale. Could you make a veal out of a pumpkin? And it'll go on to explain whether or not that's possible, and if there's facts related to that in history, or like the Guinness Book of World Records. Would anybody be able to wear a pair of glass slippers? Transformation, is it possible for animals to change from one thing to another, etc.? It feels like it's just like draining the fun out of the fairy tale for me, but I do understand there are definitely kids out there that would love that kind of analytical, like scientific approach to a fairy tale, and would find this interesting. This butterfly is really cute. Then we've got Hansel and Gretel. Really fun designs here. I love the witch design. I love the witch's hat, how it's got like a spider dangling off of it. That's really cute. The gingerbread house is beautiful. A nice, interesting choice in colours as well, because over here with the forest it's like purples and black, and there's a lot of black space, so the text stands out on the black background. But then over here it's like inside the gingerbread house is really bright and yellow. Purple and yellow is like an interesting combination. It works really nicely. Again, the question, could you make a gingerbread house big enough to live in? Why would Hansel use white pebbles? I guess that depends on the fairy tale, because sometimes it's like breadcrumbs, isn't it? Wouldn't a gingerbread house in a forest go all soggy and fall down with the rain? This is a really like fun illustration here. So like throughout the book, the wolf is the one doing the questioning, and I guess because the wolf is the scientist and analysing these fairy tales, but it's got nice imagery while he's like questioning the different fairy tales. We've got like illustrations to go along with the questioning. Like here it's talking about the gingerbread house getting soggy, so we've got an image of like the rain and the house being all melted and like falling on top of the witch, and the witch is just like sat here at the bottom and he's stood over her with an umbrella. It's very like meta, I don't want to really use that word, but like it kind of breaks the fourth wall and it's just fun. We have Jack and the Beanstalk. Interesting giant, very like contemporary looking giant. I quite like Jack's design. It looks, I don't know, those trousers kind of look baggy to me, like Arabian Nights, but I don't know if that's what was intended. I don't know if they're supposed to be hairy as well, but I just think, I don't know, it's an interesting colour combination. I like it. I like the mysterious man, which I've just realised is the wolf in disguise. So the wolf is playing a part in this story. But yeah, this giant is quite... His jacket is quite modern. I'd like to do a take on Jack and the Beanstalk one day. I think it's like an interesting story. It's like a rare story where the protagonist is a little boy. There's a lot of little girls in children's stories and fairy tales. Oh, there we go. This is a nice spread. I really like the colour blue. I love the use of blue here, the different blues. We've got like a gradient going into the stars in the atmosphere. It's talking about whether or not you would be able to climb a stalk that high into the sky, and like how it would affect your breathing, I guess. Again, just kind of taking the joy out of the whimsy. How fast could a beanstalk be chopped down? This is fun. Really good with her eyes and expressions, really expressive faces. Like this giant here as well. There's like a level of simplicity. There's quite a lot of like detail there, but overall it's quite a simple drawing. Princess and the Pea. I guess at the beginning, are these like, I'm just trying to figure out if these are reoccurring characters that have appeared before. These are various princesses, but that witch is the same as the previous not Jack and the Beanstalk, the Hansel and Gretel story witch. Never really been a fan of Princess and the Pea. And then all the questions again that the wolf is analysing. I just really love this wolf character. I think it's such a cool design. Little Red Riding Hood is the last one. I guess this is where the wolf is included in this story. I'm not sure, was he included in the first story? Because it started off with the three pigs. He kind of was. I think it's supposed to be the same wolf. I like how each fairy tale, I don't know if you notice, has its kind of own like colour palette used throughout. So we've got like a lighter, cooler blue here. It's almost like minty with like a purpley pink. And again, the questions. The squid is cool. So I guess we round up the end of the story. We talk about some of the different characters that we've met throughout and what they are doing after their story. And there we go. That's the end. So Sara Ogilvie recently, well, I say recently, a couple of years ago, did her take on Mary Poppins, and I really want to get that. It's a folio book, so it's like 40 quid. But I think like she's the perfect choice, and I feel as though this could be wrong, but Sara Ogilvie is the only person I know of that does mainstream children's books. Like, she's worked with Julia Donaldson, she's illustrated a few of her books. She does mainstream books, and she's worked for the Folio Society. A lot of artists for the Folio Society are like kind of highbrow artists that when they've illustrated books, it's usually just been for the Folio Society. I've never seen somebody do both, and I really think that's really interesting of Sara, because I think her artwork can swing both ways, if that makes sense. I think a lot of modern artists would not be able to, or would not be chosen by the Folio Society. So I would like to get her Mary Poppins book, although I'm not a fan of Mary Poppins, but her illustrating Mary Poppins I think is worth it. But I hope you enjoyed this flip through, and I will see you in the next video.